What's up, everyone? Let's talk about what's brewing in Lakerland right now, because there's a lot of chatter behind the scenes, and some of it actually makes a lot of sense when you start piecing it all together. We've got potential moves, trade scenarios, roster concerns, and maybe, just maybe, a couple of big opportunities for the Lakers to reshape their roster before training camp gets too close. Let's dive into it. So, one name that just popped back onto the radar is Malik Beasley. Yeah, that Malik Beasley. After all the off-court noise that surrounded him recently, specifically those investigations linked to gambling, he's now reportedly in the clear. No charges, no restrictions, and suddenly he's back on the market. That alone already sparks some interest. But we're not talking about just Beasley here. There are other names floating around too, like Nikola Vucevic, who's been tied to potential buyout rumors, though nothing concrete yet. Now here's the thing. The Lakers are not swimming in cap space right now. In fact, they're pretty locked in. So if they want to make any real moves, especially if they're looking to add someone like Beasley or Vucevic, it would almost certainly need to be through a trade. No magical free agency signings here. And that brings up a tough conversation. Are you really willing to dump salary just for the sake of clearing a spot? I've always believed that if you're going to make a trade, especially one that involves offloading someone, you better have a clear plan. You don't want to give up a guy like Gabe Vincent along with a second-round pick just to open up space and then be left sitting on your hands with nothing to show for it. That's how you lose value, plain and simple. You got to know that if you're making a move, it's because someone like Al Horford is ready to sign or Malik Beasley wants to come back, and you're making room for real contributors. But there's another way to approach this. Let's say the Lakers find a way to not just clear cap space, but also gain assets in return. That's the ideal scenario, right? Offload salary, open up a couple of roster spots, and either get a player who fits or stack a few second-round picks to keep in your back pocket. It's all about staying flexible in today's league, especially with how the new CBA has changed the value of those picks. Take a situation like this. The Sacramento Kings are reportedly interested in making room for Russell Westbrook. That could mean they're open to moving someone like Malik Monk. Now, imagine a three-way trade where the Lakers send out Gabe Vincent and maybe someone like Dalton Connect. Meanwhile, another team, let's say Brooklyn, absorbs a couple of contracts and sends back someone like Maxi Kleber. Sacramento clears Monk, Brooklyn gets young talent or expiring deals, and the Lakers end up with Monk plus the ability to sign someone like Beasley. That's the kind of creative deal-making that actually moves the needle. But even if you take a step back from that scenario, just think about Malik Beasley alone for a second. His last stint with the Lakers didn't exactly end on a high note. He struggled to find his shot, disappeared in big moments, and honestly, never quite looked comfortable. But here's the catch. He was already struggling before he got to LA. That wasn't some massive drop-off. His shooting numbers in Utah that season were nearly identical to what he did in purple and gold. It's not like he went from 42% to 28% overnight. He was hovering around 35% in both places. So maybe that year was just a slump. Maybe it was just a bad fit or an off year. Since then, though, he's bounced back. Over the last two seasons, he's been shooting over 41% from deep. That's the kind of volume shooting the Lakers are always looking for, especially when you're trying to build around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You need shooters who don't just try threes. You need guys who make them consistently. Back when he was first acquired, the idea was that Beasley and D'Angelo Russell would provide that perimeter threat. They'd stretch defenses, give Bron and AD room to operate inside, and force teams to pick their poison. In theory, it was perfect. In reality, not so much. DLO went ice cold. Beasley couldn't find his rhythm, and the whole plan fell apart. But things are different now. If Beasley came back, he wouldn't be expected to be one of the top 3 or 4 guys. You wouldn't need him to be a 30-minute-a-night guy who hits 5 threes per game. You'd be slotting him into a role more suited to what he actually is, a volume shooter off the bench who can come in, get hot, and change the momentum of a game. That's a much better fit, especially if the Lakers can pair him with more consistent offensive options. This brings us back to Dalton Connect. Now look, there's some real potential there. He's got the tools. He can shoot, he can score, and there are flashes that suggest he could become a solid contributor. But let's not kid ourselves. he's probably not breaking into this rotation anytime soon. At best, he's the fourth option in a post-LeBron era. And even that assumes he develops defensively, which is a huge question mark right now. Because if he can't defend, the Lakers aren't going to play him. Not on a team trying to win right now. That's the big issue. A guy like Connect might actually have a brighter future somewhere else. Somewhere he can get minutes, work through his mistakes, and really develop his game. But on this Lakers roster, it's going to be hard for him to even crack the rotation. And if he's not getting playing time, and he's not being featured offensively, he basically becomes unplayable. So you're not just wasting a roster spot, you're stalling his growth too. That doesn't help anyone. So what do? Maybe you flip Connect. Not in some desperate move just to get rid of him, but in a smart deal where you get assets in return. Maybe you get a couple of second-round picks. Maybe you find a team like Brooklyn or OKC that has too many picks and needs to consolidate. Maybe you get lucky and find a team willing to give up a late first-rounder for him. And before you say that'll never happen, let's be real. Teams hand out late firsts all the time for guys they like. It's not like we're talking about a top 10 pick here. But if OKC has the 25th pick next year and they think Connect fits their system, that's not out of the question. Even if it's not a first, 2 seconds could still be valuable, especially under the new CBA where second-rounders now have more trade value than they used to. Suddenly, you're looking at a situation where the Lakers could trade Connect, free up a roster spot, clear some salary, and bring in a proven shooter like Beasley. That's a net win. You're not just dumping a player. You're upgrading the roster and stockpiling assets. You could even go a step further. Let's say you get those picks, open up space, and then Vucevic does hit the buyout market. Now you've got room to bring him in too. So now you've added Malik Beasley and Vucevic, while also adding picks for the future. That's not just roster flexibility, that's smart team building. You're giving yourself options, short-term and long-term. And just think about the possibilities here. You could turn Connect into a couple of seconds, sign Beasley, and still have cap space to chase someone else. That opens up trade options for someone like Al Horford or DeAnthony Melton. You want perimeter defense? You want veteran leadership? You've got room now to bring that in. And all it took was moving a guy who likely wasn't going to play much anyway. So really, it's not just about Beasley or Connect or any one move. It's about constructing a roster that actually fits, that gives Darvin Ham options, that puts shooters around AD and LeBron, and still gives the front office flexibility going forward. That's the bigger picture. That's how you stay competitive in the West without going all in on a move you can't reverse. And let's keep it real for a second. This is the kind of forward thinking the Lakers have to lean into right now. They don't have the luxury of wasting roster spots or hoping for breakout moment from guys who just aren't in the plans. That's not a knock on Dalton Connect or any of the young guys. It's just the truth of where this franchise is. You've got LeBron James still playing at an elite level. Anthony Davis just had one of the best defensive seasons of his career. This window might not be wide open forever, but it's still cracked. And when you've got that, you go for it. That's why every decision from here on out matters. Every roster spot has to serve a purpose. Every player in the rotation needs to contribute. And if you've got a guy who's not going to see real minutes this year, not because of a lack of talent, but because of fit and opportunity, then it's on the front office to get value before that asset depreciates even more. Let's be honest, if the Lakers let this thing drag out and Connect continues to ride the bench, his value is going to drop even further. Teams aren't going to stay interested forever. They're going to ask, if this guy's so promising, why isn't he playing? The same thing happened with other young talents in the past. And once that doubt starts creeping in, it gets harder to get a decent return. That's why now is the moment. This offseason presents a unique opportunity. You got a few teams like Brooklyn, Oklahoma City, maybe even San Antonio, who are asset-rich and still figuring out what to do with all that draft capital. They can afford to take a swing on a guy like Connect because they're playing the long game. And the Lakers? They're playing for right now. That's the difference in approach. And that's exactly why a deal between those types of teams makes sense. Imagine this. Brooklyn, sitting on a pile of second-round picks, decides they want to take a shot on Connect. Maybe they like his shooting. Maybe they see potential to develop him without pressure. The Lakers say, all right, give us 3 second-rounders. We'll make it happen. Now you've got cap space and 3 assets to use in future deals. That's the kind of move that can help grease the wheels for something bigger later on. And let's not forget, with a new collective bargaining agreement in place, those second-round picks are way more valuable than they used to be. Teams can now use them more strategically. They're more flexible. They can be bundled, used in minor deals, or even flipped on draft night. So for the Lakers, collecting those picks is like restocking the pantry. You might not know exactly what you're going to cook yet, but at least you've got the ingredients when the time comes. Now let's say they pull that off, and boom, Malik Beasley is in the building. You've got your elite catch-and-shoot threat, someone who's comfortable coming off the bench, doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, and can absolutely swing momentum in the second unit. That's a guy who knows his role and fits into the system without stepping on anyone's toes. And again, we're not talking about relying on Beasley to be your number 3 scoring option. We're talking about plugging him into that 7th or 8th man slot where he thrives. Limited minutes, defined role, high-impact stretches. That's the sweet spot. Now, if you really want to get ambitious, think about what happens if Nikola Vucevic does actually hit the buyout market. Let's say Chicago finally throws in the towel and decides to blow it up. Suddenly, Vucevic is available, and the Lakers, thanks to some smart cap maneuvering, can make a legitimate offer without scrambling. Now you've got Beasley and Vucevic, 2 guys who can instantly help your rotation, one on the perimeter and one in the post. And the best part? You didn't have to give up any of your core guys to do it. You didn't trade Rui Hachimura. You didn't mess with Austin Reeves. You didn't touch D'Angelo Russell. You just made efficient moves on the margins, and suddenly your bench looks way deeper, way more reliable, and way more playoff ready. Now let's take a step back and look at what that kind of roster construction could actually look like. You got your starting 5, LeBron, AD, DLO, Reeves, and maybe Jalen Hood-Schifino, or even Jackson Hayes, depending on the matchup. Off the bench, you now have Malik Beasley firing from deep, Vucevic anchoring some second-unit offense, Christian Wood potentially giving you spot minutes as a stretch big, and guys like Max Christie or Bronny James sliding into defensive specialist roles. That's a rotation that makes sense. That's a rotation that has balance, shooting, size, defense, and depth. You want to compete in the Western Conference? That's what you need. You can't go into a playoff series against teams like Denver, Minnesota, or even a retooled Golden State squad and expect to win without versatility. And versatility comes from building out a roster that covers all your bases. Not just star power, but bench scoring. Not just interior defense, but perimeter shooting. And not just experience, but guys who know exactly what's being asked of them. Because let's face it, the Western Conference isn't getting easier. The Timberwolves look like a problem. The Thunder just locked up their core and are ahead of schedule. The Nuggets are still the team to beat until someone knocks them off. And if the Warriors figure out their depth issues, they're never going to be an easy out. So the Lakers can't afford to sit back and hope everything clicks. They got to be proactive. They got to find ways to stay ahead of the curve. Because when the playoffs come around, you don't want to be that team looking back saying, we could have done more. You want to be the team that took every opportunity, made every smart move, and gave yourself the best chance to compete. And right now, for the Lakers, that path starts with being honest about what Dalton Connect is right now, not what he might be one day, and using that to your advantage while you still can. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, Dejounte Murray has been officially linked to the Los Angeles Lakers as their new offensive leader, and the rumors circulating in sports circles have reached a fever pitch, creating an atmosphere charged with speculation, anticipation, and more than a little intrigue. Sources close to the organization suggest that the Lakers see Murray not merely as a supplementary piece, but as a transformative figure capable of redefining the team's offensive identity, a role traditionally reserved for superstars or highly prolific scorers, which immediately sparks debate among analysts and fans alike. The Lakers' front office, known for its bold, sometimes controversial moves, appears willing to pivot around Murray's skill set, which combines elite court vision, dynamic driving ability, and increasingly reliable shooting from mid-range and beyond the arc, a combination that promises to stretch defenses and create new opportunities for teammates like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Conversations in locker rooms and on social media speculate endlessly about how Murray's arrival could alter the team's hierarchy, the distribution of plays, and even the coaching strategies, highlighting a complex matrix of possibilities where every pass, screen, and isolation could be scrutinized. Meanwhile, the Lakers fan base, a notoriously passionate and vocal group, has flooded forums with predictions, projections, and theories ranging from immediate championship contention to potential friction with established stars, making Murray's hypothetical debut a subject of constant, fervent discussion, as if the city itself has collectively held its breath, waiting for the first glimpse of a new offensive era that may or may not live up to the swirling expectations surrounding Murray's rumored command of the Lakers attack. The implications of Dejounte Murray assuming control of the Lakers' offense ripple far beyond the immediate excitement of roster news, creating a tapestry of strategic conjectures that extend to defensive matchups, rotation adjustments, and the broader culture of team dynamics, where the interplay between established veterans and a new focal point can either ignite a resurgence or expose vulnerabilities that rival franchises will exploit with merciless precision. Analysts, commentators, and basketball insiders are already dissecting tape, comparing Murray's performance under pressure in previous seasons to the unique pressures inherent in Los Angeles, a city where media scrutiny and fan expectation are magnified to almost unbearable levels, raising questions about whether Murray's temperament and decision-making will flourish or falter under the combined glare of history, celebrity, and the relentless pursuit of championship glory. Conversations in sports bars, online communities, and private messaging groups have turned into continuous debates about the potential synergies between Murray's offensive creativity and the Lakers' existing playmakers, speculating whether his ability to penetrate defenses and facilitate scoring opportunities can harmonize with LeBron's gravity on the floor, while simultaneously considering the coaching staff's willingness to innovate schemes that maximize Murray's strengths without diminishing the contributions of other star talents. Rumors suggest that internal meetings have focused heavily on optimizing spacing, pick-and-roll efficiency, and fast break execution, with scouts projecting various lineups that could exploit Murray's versatility against both elite defenders and teams built around size and interior dominance. In parallel, social media chatter oscillates between optimism and skepticism, with enthusiasts dissecting practice footage, leaked training sessions, and even subtle gestures during press conferences, creating a persistent buzz that paints Murray's potential leadership not as a simple adjustment, but as a seismic shift in the Lakers' identity, where every possession, decision, and signature move could symbolize the dawn of a new era, or, conversely, a cautionary tale of expectations exceeding reality. Speculation about Dejounte Murray's integration into the Lakers' offensive system has intensified as whispers from within the organization hint at a deliberate restructuring of playbooks and practice regimens, suggesting that coaching staff may be tailoring strategies specifically to Murray's unique abilities, which include exceptional court vision, dynamic speed, and a developing perimeter shot that has increasingly troubled defenders across the league. Insiders indicate that there may be an ongoing recalibration of positional roles, with veteran players potentially adjusting to more flexible assignments that prioritize Murray's penetration, decision-making, and ability to create mismatches, an approach that, if executed correctly, could revolutionize the Lakers' scoring patterns and redistribute offensive responsibilities in ways previously unimagined. Meanwhile, the media landscape is rife with conjecture, analyzing every possible scenario from lineup rotations to in-game situations, creating a climate in which every dribble, screen, or assist becomes fodder for debate, heightening anticipation and anxiety simultaneously. While fans speculate on whether Murray's chemistry with the Lakers' established stars can generate the cohesion required to dominate a highly competitive Western Conference, discussions also touch on Murray's adaptability, as he transitions from being a primary facilitator on previous teams to the focal point of a franchise accustomed to marquee offensive leadership, raising nuanced questions about ego management, motivational dynamics, and long-term consistency under the relentless Los Angeles spotlight. The narrative surrounding Murray's arrival is thus not just a story of talent acquisition, but a rich tableau of human drama, competitive psychology, and speculative strategy, creating a persistent buzz that transforms casual news into near-mythical anticipation, suggesting that every game could offer clues about the evolution of the Lakers' offensive identity. With Murray positioned at the epicenter of both hope and uncertainty, a figure whose rumored command of the team's attack promises to dominate conversations, headlines, and fan imagination in ways that extend far beyond the hardwood. The potential ramifications of Dejounte Murray's rumored role as the Lakers' offensive commander extend into the realm of broader NBA strategy discussions, as pundits debate how his presence may affect the balance of power in the Western Conference, where matchups, spacing, and rotational adjustments will be scrutinized with intense precision, especially considering the Lakers' storied history and championship aspirations, which invariably elevate every decision to a symbolic and highly consequential level. Murray's combination of speed, agility, and decision-making prowess introduces a new vector for scoring efficiency, compelling defenses to rethink traditional schemes while simultaneously challenging his teammates to adapt to a player whose skill set encourages dynamic playmaking and high-risk, high-reward execution. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.